learners. Welcome to today's session. Today we are going to talk about land, environment and sustainable livelihood. We have had a video prior to this. In that session, we discussed about land and sustainable livelihood in detail. In this session, we will further continue the discussion. So let us first talk about forest and tribal economy. It has been realized that the tribal areas have been neglected as far as economic and employment alternatives are concerned. This is what forces them to depend on forest. The tribals depend on forest for their subsistence. Forest is a source to the tribals not merely in terms of fulfillment of basic needs and drives, but also in regard to livelihood. Traditionally, around 80% of their food came from these sources and from shifting cultivation on forest land. They collect food from the forest. Forests play an important role in warding off starvation in rural areas during several months a year when there is nothing else to eat. The gathering of forest products bridges food gaps that increase towards the end of the summer and beginning of the rainy season before the harvest of the cultivated crops begins. A variety of forest produce such as fruits, flowers, roots and leaves serve as their food. For instance, the food security of the tribal population of India is reliant on access to forests and the quality of forests. The forest is not only a source of food for the tribals and their domesticated animals, but also it provides them with raw materials required for the construction of their homes. Other traditional and common forest products used in subsistence includes fuel wood, then fodder, then medicines and timber for agricultural implements and houses. The range of forest products uses apart from the timber is vast, and the collection and selling of different forest products are the main sources of income for the tribals in India. It includes fruits and flowers such as mahua, oilseeds such as sal, palash, mahua, kusum and karanj, leaves such as sal, kendu and mahulan, grasses like sabai, bamboo and agave, insects products such as lac, honey and tassar. When we talk about gums, it is babul, dhawa, gijan, asan, khair, salai, kyonji, machras, piyar, galgal and kachnar, and a variety of medicinal plants. According to the National Tribal Policy, the collection and marketing of mined forest products is one of the major livelihoods for most tribal families, contributing about 70% of their total income. The United Nations report on tribal development states that tribal people in general derive either directly or indirectly a substantial amount of their livelihood from the forests. They subsist on edible leaves and roots, honey, wild game and fish. They build their homes with timber and bamboo and practice cottage crafts with the help of local raw materials. In Bihar, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh and Himachal Pradesh, it has been observed that more than 80% of the forest dwellers collect 25% to 50% of their food from the forests. Many people depend on wild fruits, timbers, leaves, wild animals and birds for food during lean months of the year. The tribals living at subsistence level largely depend on forest, particularly on non-timber forest producers. It has been noted that in the Buxar district of Madhya Pradesh, the total annual income of a tribal family is rupees 1750, out of which the earning from the forest covers as much as rupees 1500, and this has been pointed out by Chaudhary in the year 1997. In short, forest constitutes one of the main sources of tribal economy in India. Now let us talk about forests and fuel. How does forests contribute in terms of providing fuel to the tribal families? The tribal communities of India also depend on forest for collecting fuel wood. It is the main source of fuel for cooking. In addition, forest is also one of the main earning sources where the collected fuel wood is sold in the market. There is no doubt that with the decrease of forest area, it has become extremely difficult to collect the fuel wood. It has been noted that about 90% of the fuel in the countryside comprises of firewood, cow dung, and agricultural waste. Also, that in different parts of India where there are substantial number of tribal population, during the occasional crop failures, particularly due to inadequate rain, the nature of dependence on forest is quite high in terms of collecting and selling the fuel wood in the market. Now, when we try and understand the tribal pattern of medicine vis-a-vis forest, the tribal communities of India also depend on forest for medicinal purposes. Several studies have noted that forests happen to be the main source of getting medicinal plants of the tribal societies. Then they derive the definition of illness from the natural and social environments. The roots, leaves, flowers, grass, rhizome, tubers, bulbs, creepers, fruits, parasite which is on the tree, gums and raisins are all used in treatment and administration of medicines. The tribal medical system shows an impressive array of practices demonstrating empirical therapeutical knowledge, including bone setting, removal of ovaries, obstetrics, then comparative anatomy, autopsy, inoculation, baths, inhalation, laxatives, anemias, ointments, cupping, etc. Medicinal herbs and plants which they have been using for treatment of diseases and maintaining health are today the source of modern medicine. Health and nutrition, particularly in tribal societies, are intimately connected with forest. It has been observed that those who are living in the forest areas have a better health status. The B.K. Roy Burman Committee on Forest and Tribals acknowledged the capacity of forests to generate sound health system and stated that it has been possible for the tribal community to subsist for generations with a reasonable standard of health because forests provided their food such as fruits, tubers, leafy vegetables, shoots, honey, flowers, juices, grass, game, fish, etc. So, forest also plays an important role in the life of tribal society to get different types of medicines. Exploring the role of the Indian state in tribal forest relationship, it has been observed that the Indian state has also adopted a number of legislative measures which make an attempt to recognize the tribal rights on forest. In this context, the National Forest Policy 1988, the Panchayat Extension to the Scheduled Areas Act 1996, which is also called PESA, and more recently, the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006 can be demonstrated. The Indian Forest Policy declared in 1988 paid due attention to the problems of tribal people and aimed to associate them in forest conservation and management. It recognized the rights and concessions of the forest-dependent communities. It duly recognized the rights and concessions of the tribals and other poor living near the forest and advocated their protection. It also recognized their domestic requirements as the first charge on the forest produce. However, it also mentioned that the rights and concessions should remain related to the carrying capacity of the forest and should be enjoyed only by the communities living within and around the forest areas. Similarly, the PESA 1996 recognized the traditional rights of tribals over community resources such as land, water, and forest. The recognition of the Forest Rights Act 2006 was introduced with the aim to recognize and vest the forest rights and occupation in forest land in forest dwelling tribals who've been residing in such forests for generations but whose rights could not be recorded, and to provide for a framework for recording the forest rights so vested and the nature of evidence required for such recognition and vesting in respect of forest land. Under this Act, the forest dwellers receive ownership rights, including the right to farm on small plots and to sell forest produce such as honey, wax, medicinal plants, and herbs. As there is a close relationship between forest and tribals, they should have freedom to use the forest in whatever manner they like, to such an extent that they belong to the forest and the forest belong to them. As a result, traditionally the tribals were using forest in their own ways. Over the years, various forest policies initiated from time to time have always tried to restrict the rights and privileges of tribals, who are mainly forest dwellers and dependent on forests for their livelihoods, security in a variety of ways. The tribals have been denied by both the colonial and post-colonial state from being forest resources. The denial of rights in the colonial and post-colonial period was not only a case of maximization of revenues from the forest timber, but also the use of several minor forest products for industrial purposes. Traders and the state appropriated mahua and mango kernels, the most valuable forest products. The problem of hunger and malnutrition in tribal areas is clearly linked to the inequalities and threat to livelihood security of the tribal people of India. On the contrary, both the colonial and post-colonial governments are engaged in exploiting the forest resources for commercial purposes without recognizing the importance of forest in tribal livelihood system. The state also enacted number of legislations in order to keep the tribals away from the forest. The British government enacted the Forest Act 1865, which empowered the government to declare any land covered with trees or brushwood as a forest and gave it to the right to control over it. Consequently, the forest came under the strict control of the state and restricted the tribal communities to use forest resources. In independent India, the first national forest policy was formulated in the year 1952 by underlining that all the local interests must be subordinated to the broader national interest. Guha shows that first the colonial British state through Forest Policy 1894, and then independent India through Forest Policy 1952 have laid bare vast tracts of forests and turned them into agricultural land, impoverishing and subordinating the tribals and simultaneously creating ecological disaster. In addition, different state governments have also adopted a number of legislations to evacuate the tribals from the forest. For instance, the Orissa state has adopted the Orissa Forest Act of 1972, which converted the earlier reserved lands and protected lands into reserve forests and protected forests. It has also enacted the Orissa Prevention of Land Encroachment Act of 1972, which is primarily designed to prevent the unauthorized occupation of government land. But the state should differentiate between those who have encroached forest for commercial and industrial purposes and those who have occupied forest for their livelihood. In this context, it is difficult to categorize the tribals as encroacher, as their very existence is dependent on forest. In short, land and forest assume significant importance in the livelihood pattern of tribal societies in India. The tribal people also depend on the sources for their livelihood. However, the scope of non-land and non-forest based livelihood opportunities are more limited and would require harnessing the innate skills of tribals, which do not at present bring them adequate remuneration. This pattern of livelihood mainly consists of income from the result of different vocational training and livelihood based on traditional arts and crafts. Income from National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, that is NREGA. Their livelihood strategy also depends on working in the mines, or they often go off with contractors for construction work. The vulnerable tribal people of India have had to bear the brunt of involuntary displacement and destruction of their traditional livelihoods through mines, dams, etc. In mining and mineral based industrialization, environment becomes the greatest casualty. The loss of livelihood is generating from the environmental scarcity of arable land and forest. So the so-called national development projects create common problems of the destruction of their traditional livelihood patterns. But in the construction of these livelihoods, they face problems that are both somewhat different and more acute than those faced by the other displaced persons. Now let us discuss land, forest and tribal identity. Within the framework of land, environment and tribal relationship in India, it is also critical to emphasize that apart from the material and economic values of land and forests, they also play a significant role in tribal identity, culture and religion. Alienation of tribals from land and forests occurs as much due to the neglect of these values. The link between political and cultural identity and the right to land and livelihoods has crystallized most clearly in contemporary times. Ownership of land signifies livelihood, culture, and identity in a tribal economy. It is of symbolic importance, and land ownership brings a sense of identity in tribal societies. Based on the question of identity, the tribal representatives in the Constituent Assembly gave utmost importance to land in tribal life and claimed some level of discrimination. In the centrality accorded to land in such claims is the fact that issues of cultural identity were bound up with those of land. Section 2 of the ILO Convention 169 also explicitly recognizes the concept of territoriality of the tribals and the relationship it has with their identity. It occupies a pivotal place in the tribal psyche. Moreover, there are a number of social factors and religious rituals connected with land which establish emotional bond between tribals and their land, making it more than merely a source of livelihood for tribals. Tribal origin myths, life cycle rituals, belief systems, and cultural identity are all linked closely to the forest. Specific trees such as sal and mahua, as well as entire ecosystem, are preserved and protected by the tribal groups for this reason. Important religious, ritual and cultural spaces such as sarna, sasan, jaher than, etc. are often part of or situated within the forest. The religious, cultural and economic activities of the tribal people depend on forest. A shared cultural and a political identity of the tribal communities is a means of making a difference on vital issues such as self-determination, land, resources, etc. If on the one hand, the question of tribal identity is intimately related to the definition of their own, on the other hand, it deeply enmeshed with their social structure and the sources of their livelihood, that is, land, water, and forest. To reiterate, therefore, the tribal identity is intraceably linked with their right to forest, water, and natural resources, and the tribal identity cannot be protected without restoring their rights to their resources. So now let us summarize the discussion. The session provided an understanding of the concept of sustainable livelihood and went on to discuss the role of land and environment, especially forest, in the livelihood pattern of the vulnerable tribal communities in India. If you refer to the previous video, you will come to know of the discussion on sustainable livelihood. Then exploring the relationship between land, environment, and tribals, it has argued that land and forest constitute the most viable means of tribal livelihood security. They not only form the basis of construction of identity, but also the important means of generating income for the sustenance of tribal livelihood. The session also looked at the contextual role of the Indian state within the broader framework of land tribal and forest tribal relationship in India. And tribals continue to face wide ranging socio-economic disadvantage, denial of justice, etc. Apart from socio-economic deprivation, there has been a steady erosion of traditional tribal rights and their command over resources. Highlighting the role of land and forest in their livelihood pattern, the tribals are consistently protesting to enjoy their rights related to their land and forest to live with dignity. The tribals have been engaged in different types of movements revolving around the issues of livelihood. The enactment of PESA and more recently the Forest Rights Act are the product of such movements by the tribals. Today, on the one hand, the forces of globalization have posed renewed threats to the livelihood of one of the most marginalized sections of Indian society, such as scheduled tribes. On the other hand, the state has not been able to provide livelihood security to the tribals. Several cases of tribal destitution and loss of access to land and livelihoods have been coming from the state of Orissa and West Bengal. Just mentioning a few, there have been huge protests from tribal communities in Orissa as well as West Bengal to the loss of their traditional lands, forests, and livelihood system. With this, we come to the end of the session. Hope you found the session useful and you've been able to understand the entire concept of the land, livelihood, and the tribal identity, the concept of sustainable livelihood, which we discussed in the previous video. You can go back and watch that video. So keep watching the videos. Until then, take care and bye.